On today's episode of Resilient Business, we talk with Chad Cook from Players Performance Institute in Alpharetta, Georgia. Chad has a super well credentialed and experienced background in training and conditioning, from mobility to rehabilitation and high performance. And so without further ado, we welcome Chad to Resilient Business. Chad, how are you doing today?
Great, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being here. Hey, let's just jump right in. I usually like to start by asking people about their journey into their current business and current situation. And so, a good question is, when you were 7 years old and somebody asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up, what did you say, and how has that maybe evolved or even changed the way it does for most of us on the way to where you are now? Can you talk about your journey?
Absolutely. And thanks for the great intro. Appreciate it. But yeah, when I was a kid, I was super passionate about sports. And at seven, I already knew I wanted to be a professional athlete, and tested everything under the sun, played a ton of different sports. But really, as I started to get older and had to whittle them down to what was sort of my biggest passions, hockey and golf were my two biggies. And it definitely played a huge part in my storyline to getting my business up and running. I had a career-ending hockey injury and didn't have a whole lot of guidance around me at the time to understand, A, could I have prevented it? And B, how could I have come back from it versus thinking my career was over? And that in a nutshell sort of launched my business and my passion for trying to figure out and dig deep into what's out there. How can we serve athletes and clients to the best of our abilities with leading edge technologies and approaches to try to get them to reach their true potential without hitting brick walls like I did.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, that's the story of a lot of people who end up in the industry that you're in, and also I'm finding in the chiropractic industry and other wellness, fitness related businesses is usually a personal story that has led them there. And so specifically, give me a little history on PPI, if you will,
Okay.
and how that business started, and how long have you been around, and then we'll go into a little more specifics on demographics and who you serve and that kind of thing.
Okay, great. PPI, we've been around for roughly 15 years. And I've got a motto with all my athletes: just keep getting a fraction better every day. And I try to hold myself accountable to that. And that's sort of how I've gotten to where we are today, is just through modalities, through different unique approaches, trying to figure out how we can serve our athletes to the best of our abilities. PPI in a nutshell, we try to keep it really simple. We've got three pillars. For human performance. That's what we try to specialize in, is just helping people with human performance, whether it's for life or sport. But the three pillars are the performance zone, recovery zone, and nutrition zone. And they're not silos. Obviously, everything's integrated and interrelated, but it definitely helps our athletes and our clients try to get a feel for what they think they might need to jump into initially. And then we just try to broaden their perspective as we get in and get them to understand what we do and how we can help them.
Yeah, and I noticed that on your website, those three pillars, and makes you a little bit unique. And it's not like your typical training environment or even strength conditioning environment, because you're sort of killing a few birds with one stone, providing a little bit of a one-stop shop for people, which I believe is something that probably helps you build relationship with your clients pretty well, is offering a little more of a diversified and well-rounded approach. So I thought that was great. Talk a little bit more about who you serve. It's not just athletes, correct?
Correct. We definitely started out in the early days. We were heavy emphasis on rotational athletes, especially golfers. But over the years, with some of our unique specialties and stuff, we've definitely branched out into throwing athletes, kicking athletes, and then your everyday executive to someone coming off from a surgery. So besides serving our athletes and clients, we've become sort of a good adjunct for chiropractors, physical therapists, orthopedic surgeons. So we sort of fill that gray area um, between your typical training environment and your rehab centers on trying to get people back to being field ready, whether it's field ready for life or field ready for the sport that they play. So we definitely partner with a lot of the different medical professionals in the area to try to help serve their purpose as well as the athletes that we serve.
Yes, and that's a really good point. And you know, we know each other because my son Jacob is a client of yours, and of course, you're a client of ours with the Pulse PEMF, which we can get into in a second. But yeah, we've already recognized and been a part of that network collaboration around the community. And I think it's a great approach. It's a way to scale your operation, and it's another way to help build a relationship with that client, you know, long term, providing other capabilities and approaches and getting some additional eyes on people as well, and some hands in the game. So that great differentiator, great approach. Talk a little bit, if you would, about you know, if I'm a new client coming into PPI for the first time, maybe we've chatted on the phone or I've had a referral from someone to come see you. In general, what can one expect maybe on a first visit?
On a first visit, we're definitely going to do a lot of assessing, and part of that's going to depend on where they're coming in from. Are they coming in from a medical professional that's trying to have us help support their needs and get them back to wherever they need to get to? If that's the case, we may be a little bit more specific on a unique area, but in general, we're going to assess the athlete or the client. And we sort of pride ourselves on being able to have a pretty broad viewpoint on looking at the athlete as a whole or the client as a whole, whether it's something needed in pure isolation or pure function, and where on that continuum does this individual fall? And that's going to sort of dictate what type of assessments and what type of approaches we're going to take with them. So that's one thing I always like to get out right in front with them. And I also try to get them to understand that it's usually going to be multifactorial. There's going to be a lot of different things that may play a part in getting them back to where they want to be or getting them to a new place that they've never been. So we try to hit on those areas pretty heavy with them, but at the end of the day, it's a process. It's not a quick fix. It's not a magic bullet. Hopefully we get some cool, quick results right away. But I always try to emphasize that it's a process like anything else. And if we want to get great results, we just got to be methodical and process oriented and do the little things daily that make that change.
Yeah, and it definitely coming through everything you said is you know, a process, and it's also very personalized. So you know, assessing the person right off the get go and designing a program around their needs that may involve your services, your performance services, your recovery, your nutrition, but it also may also involve others in the community that can help with that, you know, sort of be on the team of that person. So no, I think it's great. You guys, again, have your performance center. So maybe describe that a little bit. Maybe we can go through each of the three pillars, if you would.
Sure. Happy to. With the performance zone, that includes everything from trying to help them recover, recovery, regeneration, things like that. So it could be manual modalities. We specialize in some different areas there that we can get into with hands-on techniques, all the way to just loading them through exercises, external loads through different equipments, technologies, that kind of stuff. So the performance is going to hit a lot on your typical speed, agility, quickness, mobility, stability, balance, all the different factors that play into performance. The recovery zone, that one I categorize a little bit more where we're going to leverage some of our technologies like PMF, along with a few others, and trying to get their body to just get out of its own way and start to heal itself better. We're not I'm more on the performance side than the medical. So we're not trying to diagnose and treat anything. We're just trying to remove the roadblocks and help the body do what it does really well.
Yeah, excellent. And then you also have the nutrition. And so if you decide that supporting someone with some additional nutrition, different types of supplementation, or different types of performance enhancement products, those types of things, those are available as well, right?
Absolutely, right.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example is, say they're coming in off from recovering from an ACL injury, and they've done their physical therapy, they've done their other therapies, but they're not field ready yet. Well, we're going to look at what kind of foods are they eating. Are they eating inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory foods? How are they supplementing, not supplementing? So they all feed off each other. So we're going to take a holistic approach and try to look at all those different zones and see how we can help them the most. And if it's outside our scope, we're going to put them to some of the professionals that we know and trust.
Excellent. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about the recovery zone. You and I, as I said earlier, know each other from a couple of different reasons, but you're one of my real good Pulse clients for PEMF, albeit relatively newish. Been at it this year. Maybe you'd like to tell us how you got involved with that, how you got started with it, how you're integrating it in a little more specifically, and sort of what you've seen so far, if you would.
Absolutely. The recovery zone is near and dear to my heart for a lot of reasons. One, with my past injuries, wanted to find a couple things. One is obviously we're getting more and more popular with athletes and clients. So I'm trying to find ways where we can help serve their needs a little bit better, a little more efficiently, things like that, while freeing me up to do some of the things that are sort of my sweet spot. And PMF has been an awesome addition for that. With our hands-on techniques, one of the things I specialize in is muscle activation technique. And it's great along with some of the other things we do, where we can start to identify where things aren't firing properly. But what I really like with the PMF is that all of our loads, whether I'm doing it with my hands or we're doing it with exercises, are coming from the outside in. And what I like a lot with the PMF and the recovery zone is I feel like when we get down to that cellular level and exercise and energize and help at the cellular level, we're hitting all kinds of components from the inside out that just complement and feed into everything we're trying to do with external loads. So that's where it just hits a great wheelhouse for us. We're getting a lot of positive outcomes. Again, not trying to diagnose and treat things, but just saying, okay, if we get those cells healthier and get them energized more, we're seeing some really cool complements to the other things that we do at PPI. And that's pretty exciting.
Sure. Excellent. Talk about, let's see. So you have in the recovery zone, you have the Pulse PEMF, you have the Normatec compression. Am I missing anything?
We also do EMS, TENS, some muscle stimulation, things like that in there. But those are sort of the key ingredients right now, with PMF being our flagship. The other ones are great in their own mind, but that inside out approach definitely helps us a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about everybody's favorite topic, 2020. What is it that you may have learned going through 2020 that may have been different for you guys? How were you impacted by the events of last year? And maybe how have you maybe come through it or are still addressing certain things? Just kind of talk about the effects of that on PPI, if you would.
Okay. Happy to. I guess I'd say, first of all, we feel extremely blessed. With where we're at, we were able to stay functional through all the craziness of the last 2020 and sort of plus or minus the year before and after. So we've been very blessed on that front. And we were also very fortunate that we had remote and virtual coaching options in place prior to COVID hitting. So that was also extremely helpful for us when we had athletes and clients stranded in other states that just couldn't get to us. That had been a mission of ours for a long time, so we were pretty fortunate to already have that in place. So all in all, from PPI standpoint, I'd say we were extremely blessed and probably much luckier than a lot out there as far as being able to keep the gears going and serve our athletes to the best of our abilities. But there was definitely a lot of changes and definitely an eye-opening experience for us to have to say, okay, what's the future look like? And how are we going to be more creative? How are we going to get people to be able to serve themselves a little bit better, even when they can't come to a physical location? And that was eye-opening and also probably a good wake-up call for us.
Yeah. And also a little bit easier if you're developing the types of relationships and personalized approaches that you guys do. And so, I think that's a testament to creating that, again, relationship with your clients, so that when you do have to navigate or shift or tweak your approach, they don't go anywhere. They stick with you. And
Right.
I think that's a really good testament to what you guys are doing at PPI. So that's cool. In
One
kind
other
of,
one on that real quick
yeah,
is very lucky. We have an extremely loyal base of athletes and clients that were extremely flexible as we were testing the waters on some of that stuff. So again, sort of luckier than most on that front to have a very loyal base that had a lot of trust in us. And that was a great thing. We were very fortunate to have that.
yes. Awesome. No, that's great. In kind of coming around the home stretch here, wrapping up a little bit, I'd love to get your thoughts on, you mentioned for the future, preparing for the future. How do you see your industry sort of evolving from here? What are you seeing out there?
Um, I see that from an evolution standpoint, there's always going to be certain needs for face-to-face, hands-on approaches. Um, but moving forward, we've got to come up with better ways to let people serve their own needs, guide them along the way. There's so much technology that's available, like what we're using right now, to be able to let them know that even when it felt like a million things were being taken away, there's always a way to keep making progress with your health, your fitness, your nutrition, all that stuff. And even when you feel like you can't go to the gym or you can't go here or you're isolated, um, there's ways to make progress. And there's coaches out there and medical professionals out there that we've seen and that we use ourselves that are leveraging these technologies to serve people a million miles away. So there is no real need to have roadblocks. There is a way for us to have this stuff and to serve people and let them get better.
Yeah, I agree. Well, great. Chad, if people want more information about Players Performance Institute or about what you do, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
Probably the best way is to check us out on our website, playerspi.com. That's got all our contact information, where we're located, links to our social media, all that different kind of stuff, and some articles on some of the things we've done with some of our athletes and the different approaches we do. Also has our online scheduling system, so it makes it pretty easy for people to start reaching out. And for the athletes that are in the area, just a nice plug for PMF is we are offering a demo right now if there's people in the area that want to test the waters and see what that great technology can do.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. And we'll include links below to your website. And so people will be able to find you easily that way. So if you like what you've seen on Resilient Business, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want information on Players PI or any of our clients that we interview, check the show notes below. Also see the notes below for affiliates that I work with for some great products, great discounts. And if you want any more information and you're curious about Pulse PEMF and how it can help you either personally or in your wellness or fitness related business, please hit me up through any of my channels and I'll be happy to design a solution for your specific needs. Once again, thank you very much, Chad, for being on Resilient Business, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Great.